Now, as per the program sheet, we are supposed to move on to the next session, for which I'd like to invite Mr. Hari Narayanan, General Manager, Supply Chain Services of Signode India Limited. He will take off from where we were discussing end-of-line, integrated end-of-line yesterday, and he would give us a presentation on what it means to be able to streamline end-of-line production processes.
Yeah, that's the one. How do you, yeah. Hi, it's good afternoon. Actually, I'll start from where we left it yesterday. I think the panel, what it concluded, I think it's broadly talked about how do we look at packaging automation, which is mostly on the secondary and the tertiary packaging. For a minute, I leave the primary part of the packaging, keep a little out. It's all about between yesterday and today. Yesterday we talked about packaging. Today we are talking about supply chain. I think the debate here is where it stops and where it starts. I think that's the fact is somewhere in between. I think that is actually the whole point actually we are trying to debate. I think it's all about an integrated approach between packaging and logistics. My thought process for the day is look at the first mile of the whole supply chain, which is the manufacturing facility. I believe your platform has to be right to service the supply chain more effectively. So in line with yesterday's discussion, it's sort of a summary on what could be those technology capabilities you need to incorporate at the first mile of the journey, which is the own manufacturing facility. So how do we build? How do we look at the business case? How do we take it forward? How do we take a leadership role? I mean, educate the industry in what we would like to drive. That's the thought process. I think I'll just summarize once more yesterday what the forum was trying to highlight. There is a fair amount of consolidation. I think this is specific. I'm talking about CPG pharma. I mean, manufacturing capabilities. Plants are becoming larger. Plants are becoming national, from a local to a regional to a national facilities. Throughputs are becoming much bigger. From a food and beverages perspective, I think, as Dasgupta yesterday talked about biscuits, 60% of the labor deployment is only in the logistics activity of the total manpower count. You look at it. You talk to any of the top 10 in India, they will very well say about 60% plus manpower is deployed in the logistics operation. Starting from packaging, warehousing, dispatch. The manpower count is about 60%. And also the regulatory issues in terms of contract labor, liabilities, safety concerns. It's also a nonsense area which people are trying to get out of it. The third is industries slowly start moving towards palletization for storage, which was never used to happen. It's used to be at a case level storage. Now we can see things are slowly moving towards palletized storage. It's again a derived impact of labor liabilities, throughput rates, and also the change in pack style itself. I think one other positive trend which I could see in the industry in the last 10 years is moving away from the higher safety factors which you used to have. Today it's going thinner and thinner, and then the packaging efficiencies need to be accommodated in the storage designs. One other extreme example is the beverages industry moving towards shrink pack from a corrugated packaging, where you won't be able to stack it 1+1 without being palletized. So this is some sort of a forced demand on the industry. So industry started palletizing for storage. I take it more positively because from an automation perspective, there is a huge challenge in terms of asset utilization, whether in terms of any kind of logistics assets, whether in terms of warehousing, what is a pick rate for your MHE, what is a turnaround for your trucks. These are all hidden costs in the supply chain. When we talked about supply chain efficiencies, to my mind, these are all hidden costs. How do we unlock the true value from the supply chain? Another thing is thanks to infrastructural issues, maybe unorganized trucking sector, warehousing not being organized, India still continued to be on a loose case shipments. Palletization never happened, though there is, I could say about maybe about 2 to 3% moves today on palletized, maybe on a B2B environment. But even towards own warehousing depots, it's still going loose thanks to market trucks. Another critical factor is the response time to market. I think as we heard from e-commerce or from organized retail, the customers don't have the patience. So the time to respond is actually, if you take more time, it's a lost business, even from a manufacturing point of view. And again, the spikes in shipment. One key observation is, I think we can see India, the infrastructure capabilities in the whether in terms of packaging automation or the warehousing automation, it's always built on theory of averages. I don't think it works in logistics. Why? It's because we have month-end spikes. We have got shipment practices, something from sunrise to sunset. No shipments will be done after 6 o'clock in the evening, but at the plant keep producing it 24 hours a day. Whenever we look at a warehousing design, one of the critical factors which you see in here is the in-feed throughput rate is maybe X, right? Outfeed rate has to be at least 5X. So that opens up another set of challenges, I think, in terms of how do we smartly manage in terms of your infrastructure and process capability in terms of managing spikes. There's also a challenge. Why these points are very important is I'm just trying to take the discussions towards how do we look at it, your infrastructure and process capability for a manufacturing environment. Where do we see gaps? How do we fill it? How do we take it forward? So once I have got a well-defined infrastructure or a process capability, I think the thought process here is get it right by design. And then we can take it forward towards the next set of building blocks in terms of supply chain efficiencies beyond the manufacturing environment. So keeping that in mind, I think it's again summarizes throughput rates, productivity, compliance, and the regulatory framework. I call it maybe the 4 pillars of, or for the 4 key points towards building process capability in a manufacturing environment. These are the 4 key drivers, I think, believe pushing the system to change. These are I call it the enablers for industry to change. I think the thought process what I'm trying to bring in here is how do we bring in a sort of a process capability framework. I think it's need to be uniquely customized to an industry, uniquely customized to a supply chain, because though we say supply chains compete then more than brands compete, the thought process here is there's a fair amount of differentiation which you can see in the supply chain for every brand and every manufacturer. So we need to align your supply chain design towards that specific unique requirement. So what we are suggesting here is industry need to look at it, what is unique to their process, what is unique to their manufacturing capability and their supply chain. How do we come up with the similar USP towards automation? So each need to be in line. I mean, that is one thought process we are trying to do. So my perspective here is look at the material flow, whether in terms of physical flow or the information flow. How do we smartly align? How do we smartly integrate these two towards an integrated packaging and logistics approach towards automation? That's the thought process. So just trying to bring in some sort of a measure mechanism in line with the supply chain efficiencies from a manufacturer's perspective. What I believe is what cannot be measured, cannot be monitored, and cannot be improved upon. Keeping that thought process in mind, the big question here is, in addition, definitely obvious to cost. Cost is definitely goes without saying. What are the broad hidden costs in supply chain, which all of us need to look into in terms of driving efficiencies? Maybe each of them we can go one by one. Different customers, different verticals. The importance of inventory days would be very different. But in principle, what we are saying, it's all about cash. I think how smartly, how fast you can rotate your inventory. I'm not saying everything is possible. You have got your own defined business rules in terms of 10 days of FG should be maintained, 5 days should be there, 2 days of staging, XYZ parameters. Keeping all these parameters into the assumption, what should be your inventory days which which should be the idle inventory, I call it, which is inventory sitting without an instruction. I think that's an opportunity. I think to me what I'm hitting here is the inventory days from that perspective. We talked about asset utilization, we talked about fleet turnaround. And India, if you look at it across industry vertical, maybe exceptions here and there is no industry which deals with about 50 to 100 trucks per day. There's no scenario a truck moves out less than 12 hours in a planned environment. So why the turnaround is so high? By design, it should have been technically, if you start plotting 5 activity a truck has to go through, it should be a 60 to 90 minutes window for a truck to turn around. So why this 3 hours, why this 6 hours, why this 24 hours? Where are those inefficiency? How do we look at those inefficiency? What's the root cause for this inefficiency? That's the point of discussion. Another most important thing, I think, a delivery order execution window. And again, I believe India, it's another big measurement which nobody looked at it. Thanks to most of the moving into SAPs and other ERP systems, moment as delivery order is generated in your IT system, how much time you take to execute that order. I mean, maybe I take 00 hours as a window. I would say even on a 48 hours window, in a general manufacturing practice in India, the execution compliance is not even 50%. So it opens up another interesting debate. Why it's so low? What's again the root cause? What it leads to? Again, accuracy of shipment. It goes without saying. Productivity in terms of manpower, we talked about it. One most important thing, commercial security. I just putting a new definition to it. It's all about shrinkages, obsolete inventory, pilferages in the manufacturing environment. It's also an equally important thing moment you start dealing with the value-added products, especially in the consumer goods industry. So how do we deal with it? What are the kind of pilferages in the industry? My guess is it's as high as 0.1%, 0.05 to 0.1% is the kind of an industry benchmark in a fully integrated plant, a national manufacturing facility in India. So we can, there may be a range. I think it's something range from 0.05 to 0.1%. On a value basis, it's again lots of money. So my thought process here is let's look at the measurement system first, then before getting into what to automate and how to automate, where the business case comes from. So unless and otherwise you write the right business case, how do we justify to the leadership level, and we will not be able to justify an automation. So that's the thought process on which I'm building. So my framework here is an integrated packaging logistics model. To me, linking of 4 elements. One is an integrated packaging line logistics, that is linking of multiple lines. Maybe if you go to any manufacturing environment, maybe in an FMCG scenario or a pharma scenario, we know about at least about 15 to 20 production lines would be running. Is there a scope for integration? Because on a standalone basis, we will not be able to drive cost efficiencies or justification for investments. The thought process should be all around driving integration between multiple lines. Whenever I'm running multiple SKUs, multiple batch runs, how smartly I will integrate and automate. This means it's again call for smart way of doing a track and trace template. How do we smartly automate the track and trace capability? Even if I have got 20 SKUs running on 20 different lines, how smartly I drive an automation model which automatically picks up all the 20 and drive 20 different pallets on a real-time basis. Can we really do it? Is it possible? How do we do it? The second piece is all about warehousing automation. I think I would like to take the discussions towards automatic storage and retrieval systems. So how do we do? What is the kind of opportunities? What's the business case? The third piece, yesterday I think there were points talking about case pickings. I think case picking solution. Moment I palletize into one single SKU pallet loads, but when I have to dispatch, I need to do mixed loads. How do we do it? Is there a scope for automation? If I have to automate, how do I automate? What are the basic different levels of automations possible? The fourth point I would like to elaborate is all about dispatch automation. I think there's one piece in India which never attended. It's all about trucking automations. When a truck enters the plant, if you have to do the process flow diagram of a truck which goes through, you can identify about 10 to 15 activities, which is mostly about manual activities. A truck comes and stops at the gate. The truck driver gets out. He will be asked to park it somewhere about 2 kilometers or half a kilometer away. He has to walk down half a kilometer, go with his credentials, eligible, talk to the security fellow. So the point I'm trying to drive, the TAT as an issue fundamentally is due to lack of automation and due to lack of simplifying the operating procedures in terms of the process flows, which is happening within a manufacturing environment. So in my perspective, an integrated automation should be linking all these four pieces together. So that's where the true spirit of automation, that's where the real value is, in line with the scorecard templates which I talked about before. Just to simplify, I think just to give a layman's perspective of automation. So we just talked about how smartly I link up multiple lines from production lines, getting into common shared infrastructure. How do I drive shared palletization lines? Sorry, I just don't have a pointer. Yeah. Yeah, the debate here is how do I link up multiple lines? If I can link it up multiple lines, how do I draw common palletization / unitization equipment? How do I bring a track and trace layer which ensures there is no mix up? How do I drive it the packaging sequence in terms of labeling, wrapping, strapping, again checking up the profiles, push it to an ASR as online? The thought process here is, without having a single forklift in your shop floor, is there a possibility to drive an integrated automation model directly from the filling line or the production line straight away to truck gate out? An industry which maybe I can talk about a traditional global or Indian global MNCs, if I employ, I can knock off one shot 150 to 200 employees or 200 contract labor. This excludes the loading manpower which is putting cases onto the truck. So thanks to plants becoming bigger, capacities becoming at a national level, there is a fair amount of opportunities towards automation. The challenge here again, how do we write a business case? It's going to cost a lot of money. So if it is going, somebody need to spend something close to about $5 million on a modern plant. How do we justify where the business case come from? How do we document? I think that's equally important. So the challenge here is how do we write a nice business case and give it on the supply chain efficiency parameters, and it's easy to justify. That's the thought process. And the second thought process which we have is how do we smartly bundle the multiple levels of track and trace into the packaging lines. There is a lot of discussions in isolation or in compartments. One set of people talk about the track and trace capability need to be built from an IT perspective. One set of people talks about from a label perspective, another perspective. The third perspective is the packaging equipment by itself. I think the third layer, I think somebody supplies the packaging equipment. How do we smartly integrate all the stakeholders towards the common objective? How smartly we align and how do we take it forward? Maybe we know from a pharma perspective, we talked about the 2D barcode at a primary level. We said it need to be consolidated at the inner pack level. Again, maybe a 2D or a 1D barcode. This is from a DGFT perspective. We talked about shipper carton maybe at a 1D barcode, with moving into a pallet level. See, thought process here is whether it's a food business or a pharma business, how do we smartly start linking up one to other, and how do we have an integrated view in terms of material flow and data flow, and how do we smartly integrate that with the packaging equipments and the conveying system. That is also another equally strong debate. Who is going to build the cat? How do we ensure that all the four work together? One in terms of consumable, one in terms of equipments, one in terms of integration, fourth in terms of technology itself, maybe in terms of IT. So what are the different levels of handshaking in terms of level 1, level 2, level 3? Who is going to integrate? How are you going to manage this? I think this is an interesting topic which need to debate, which need to be discussed. Another interesting piece, I think somebody touched upon, I think Omron talked about it in terms of vision control systems. I think as Dasgupta ji also talked about it, is as throughputs are becoming faster, moving from 50 packs per minute to as high as 1000 packs per minute. How do we check? How do we inspect? The automation controls of inspection, I think it's another parallel to the track and trace layer in terms of how do we accept and reject online at that kind of a speed, maybe in terms of graphics of the primary pack, maybe in terms of gauge, whether in terms of guide, alignment, the liquid levels, present, absent or present. So how do we integrate multiple technologies and design an inspection system with an accept reject model in line with the track and trace layer to be a part of an online process? Again, another debate which we need to look at it, how an automation can support and how do we integrate this. We talked about it, the track and trace layer from a labeling perspective. Any amount of high level automation needs to, the data generation and application has to be done online. The data has to come from a level 3 system or a level 2 system. There should not be any manual interference, number one. Number two, even after application, there has to be a validation system. So how do we ensure it's not only applied, it's not only readable, it's also there and it's right, 100% right. We just cannot have any mix-up in an ASRS environment. So how do we ensure that it's right and it's validated too? So 100% accuracy. So track and trace layer need to support this. So putting all these pieces together, I think we as an integrator, we as trying to position as a lead integrator to the industry, trying to see what are the different components of secondary and tertiary packaging automation. How do we smartly bundle, how do we smartly align and bring into a completely integrated automation model, maybe starting from a metal detector, check weighing, carton erector, picker and placer, unitizing, label applicator, maybe an inkjet printer, multiple devices. How do we smartly and seamlessly integrate into a palletization and moving into an ISRS system or a warehousing automation system without any kind of manual interference? Is it possible? The answer is yes. Is there a business case? The answer is yes. So how do we do it? How do we demonstrate with examples, maybe with the market leaders? I think that's the thought process here. Just to give it maybe in one perspective is you can do maybe an ASRS or a warehousing automation maybe at a shipper carton level, maybe in pharma industry, maybe this is relevant. So your entire warehousing automation will be configured at a shipper carton level, not at a pallet level. The second scenario, we may do it at a palletize it, store it and then ship it out. Maybe the second scenario. So considering all these things, again, we need to also have a track and trace layer with a scanning and validation system which offers a real-time visibility of what's lying where. So one layer could be, without going for an ASRS, I can also have a WMS system, maybe without even on a horizontal warehousing, without even a rack. I can also go for just a warehousing system. This only talks about data automation. I'm not talking about any material handling equipment automation or any warehousing automation. So, but at the same time, I need to know what's lying where on a real-time basis. This is very well possible only if I scan and validate the position with the grid, and then only we should be able to get this WMS layer even on a manual system. So going forward, I think there is a strong business case. Real-time inventory visibility is also equally important at the warehouse level. So coming down to racking as a technology in India, you can see you have the basic manual racking, which is forklift based. It consumes space. It's better than nothing. It's a good start. Going forward, there are two technologies being talked about from a global perspective, some of the best practices. One would be moving towards a crane-based ASRS. The second is to move towards a cart-based ASRS. Both has got its own pros and cons, but fundamentally my belief is the cart-based stands much above the crane-based, considering the facts being listed down. So here the base is, it's more dense, it can give you more warehousing productivity, give you less power consumption, better utilization of the cubic space and faster response time. So just taking it forward from there, I just wanted to briefly take you through a brief video which sets the background in terms of how an automatic storage and retrieval system works in an animated view. So it just sets the background right. Just a 2-minute video just to...
Presenting ITW's newest division, ITW Warehouse Automation. ITW Warehouse Automation was created to offer the most advanced and integrated solutions for automated warehouse management. From production and pallet storage to proven case picking and truck loading, ITW Warehouse Automation offers its clients a complete warehousing solution. Our ultra-high density storage system controls and tracks full pallets from production to the loading bay. The pallet is then identified, classified, and transported to the assigned position by double shuttle system. If required, pallets may be picked to order with Verticu's proven case pick solution. The ITW Warehouse Automation System offers a unique integrated solution which includes both industry-leading ASRS and case-picking solutions. The system maximizes storage capacity with higher throughput in the smallest footprint available. The system is scalable, allowing optimum adaptation to both existing infrastructure and greenfield sites. Being modular, the system enables clients to make their investment in automation gradually as storage capacity requirements and SKUs increase. The system is designed to minimize energy consumption without sacrificing performance. All warehouse operations are controlled by a central warehouse management system, which allows easy supervision and management. Capacity, efficiency, control. ITW Warehouse Automation.
Yeah, it's just a brief video. Hope it explains the business case and how it's being done. So any questions I can answer it. So moving forward, I think the third piece is all about how do we do the mixed loads. I think there are different levels of automations. I think in the retail industry where they do the the pick to light kind of technologies. I think it's a question of how do we adapt technology to your requirement. I think there are various ways you can break the pallet, put it on a conveyor line, either horizontal or vertical, with the track and release layer, mix it up, reconfigure, take it out. It's very well possible. It needs to be customized, it needs to be configured to an existing layout. I think that's the challenge. I think there are solutions are plenty. How smartly we configure is the challenge. So maybe up to a staging point, take a pallet out, mix it as per the sales order or a dispatch order, configure it, backed up with a track and trace layer. It's very well possible. We can discuss, we can debate, but it's very well possible. So going down to the last piece of the automation, which I would like to do is about trucking automation. It's all about, the point I'm driving here is about how do we smartly use technology as an enabler. I think India, we know RFID has progressed pretty well as a technology. So we are looking at active or a passive DAG, put it to the windscreen of even it's a market truck or a two-way truck, put it there, use a tag and start scanning the tag throughout the value chain inside the plant. Maybe whether it is a weighbridge data, whether in terms of a dispatch data, whether in terms of barrier controls, anything needs to be automated. I think what the simple thought process here is looking at RFID as an enabler, trying to drive trucking automation through the plant. Moment a truck comes in till the time truck moves out, whether in terms of TAT, in terms of where it's held, how it moves, maybe with some geofencing, everything is possible to automate. This kind of automation is being practiced globally. But the challenge here is how do we write again a business case? I think this I had seen mostly happening mostly in construction industry and mostly in recycling industry where manpower deployment is very difficult. I think nobody wants to work there. But again, my thought process is even in an industry where I need with 100 trucks per day, there is a strong business case to drive this kind of automation. Somebody need to build the cat in terms of documenting the business case for the industry and take it forward. I think it's possible. It takes a lot of inefficiency out of the supply chain. It drives a lot of positive safety factors. We can see in any of the bigger plants about deal with 100, 200 trucks per day. The biggest challenge here is the truck drivers itself is the biggest nuisance. Along with 2 cleaners comes in and the kind of mess we go through as an organization from a client perspective is also equally important. So the summary here is linking up the 4 pieces. One is secondary, tertiary packaging lines, warehousing automation, case picking and dispatch automation. How smartly we link up all the 4 pieces together into an integrated view and try to write a business case. and work towards a measurement system which drives efficiencies in the supply chain. So that's the point, and that's the point I want to leave it for discussion. I think we'll be able to answer points and just take it forward. I think maybe one more slide to just to give another view of a pictorial view or maybe a real view of how a dispatch automation gate can look like. So this is not a reference to an Indian context, but you can see there are boom barriers. This is maybe a main gate of a plant. You can see one would be an entry gate, one could be an exit gate. There may be weigh bridges on both the sides of the plant. You can see boom barriers will only open only if the RFID reader reads the truck. You maybe also checks the number plate of the truck and see that it matches, maybe a biometrics to support the truck driver, CCTV camera to document. So the whole main gate operation, which in India, if you see any of the manufacturing plants, you see the biggest nonsense and the biggest nuisance. So I see this is one of the biggest area of opportunity also need to be looked at too in terms of, this is more of a layman perspective of how the automation should look like. To me, to sum it up, the best way to start is, where is the business case? Who's going to write the business case? How do we align and document a business process in line with the objective, and maybe to start with a process audit, maybe a consultant view in terms of how do we write a business case, what is an as-is process, gap analysis to be processed. Let the process speaks for itself than to write about this should be an automation. Define a measurement system, document the business case, work towards a phased implementation than try to do everything together. Make those baby steps than doing those big steps. Back it up with an operational SLAs towards process ownership. It's easy to document the current level moving towards what it should be after 3 years once this automation stabilizes. But the challenge is who is going to bell the cat and take the ownership. This calls for a lot of training, this calls for a lot of service providers ownership towards delivering those SLAs. So this, all the 5 pieces need to be tied up together to have an effective execution in driving the objective we talked about, supply chain efficiencies at the first mile. That's all about from me. Thank you very much.